Life is a dance, but do you know the steps? Have you ever felt torn between standing your ground and letting go? Between pushing forward and knowing when to step back? Between fighting for control and surrendering to the flow of life? What if the key to life isn't just about being strong, but knowing when to be strong? What if control isn't about holding on, but about knowing when to release? What if true power comes from balance? Power, balance, flow. The secret to life lies in knowing when to embrace each one. By the end of this journey, you'll see life through a new lens. Through the wisdom of a flamenco dancer, a martial artist, and a hula dancer, you'll discover the secret to moving through life, not just with strength, but with grace. Not just with control, but with flow. Stay with me until the end, and you may just find the answers you've been searching for. This is not just dance. This is a way of life.
Hola, my friends. I want to talk to you today about something many of us struggle with: power. We often wait for someone to give it to us. We hope the world will recognize our worth, our strength. But in flamenco, as in life, power is not given. It is claimed. When I first started dancing flamenco, I was timid. I tried to be graceful, controlled, delicate. But flamenco is not about asking permission to be seen. It demands presence. The more I held back, the weaker my steps became. I remember one class where my teacher stopped the music. She watched me with sharp eyes and said, "Do you even believe in your own dance?" Her words stung. I wanted to say yes, but deep down, I knew the truth. I was afraid of being seen, afraid of making a mistake, afraid that if I danced with too much force, too much presence, I would be judged. I told myself I wasn't ready yet, that one day, when I was better, when I was more skilled, I would dance with real fire. But that day never comes unless you decide to take it. One day, my teacher said, "Do not wait for the music to carry you. Seize it, command it." That day, I stopped apologizing for taking up space. I stopped dancing like a shadow and started dancing like I belonged. And I realized something. The world does not hand you confidence. You have to carve it out for yourself, step by step, beat by beat. The moment you claim it, everything changes. I stomped, I turned, I raised my arms like a warrior. And in that moment, I understood. Power is not something given by others. It is something you take. Before my first performance, my hands trembled. I could hear my heartbeat over the music. I thought, what if I fail? What if they see right through me? But then, my teacher's words echoed in my mind. Do not wait for the music to carry you. Seize it. And so, I made a choice. I slammed my foot down, not just on the stage, but on my doubt. I let the music flow through me, no longer waiting for permission to be bold. And in that moment, I felt my power. And that is what I want to share with you today. Stop waiting. Stop seeking approval. Your power is already inside you. It is in the way you stand, the way you speak, the way you live. Do not ask for it. Claim it. In flamenco, every step, every movement, every beat is a declaration of self. Life is no different. Do not shrink. Do not whisper. Stomp. Speak. Dance. And take what is yours. So I ask you, where in your life are you waiting? Waiting for approval? Waiting for certainty? Waiting to be ready? Stop waiting. Step forward. Speak up. Dance. Even if your voice shakes, even if your steps falter, the world belongs to those who dare to claim it.
The sun barely peeks over the horizon, casting golden streaks across a quiet mountainside. The air is crisp, still, waiting. A lone martial artist stands at the edge of a rocky cliff, his silhouette strong against the vast sky. His breath is steady, his stance firm, but there is something in his eyes. Doubt? Uncertainty? A war within himself.
I used to believe that victory belonged to the strongest, the one who struck first, the one who never backed down. Every fight, I threw myself forward, attacking with everything I had. I thought power meant always pushing ahead, always forcing my way through. But I remember one fight that changed everything. I was younger, full of fire, convinced that aggression would win the day. I launched strike after strike, relentless, refusing to slow down. But my opponent, he didn't meet me with force. He waited, he watched, and just when I thought I had the upper hand, he moved. A single counter, swift, effortless. Before I even understood what happened, I was off balance, struggling to recover. I had been so focused on attacking that I had left myself wide open. In that moment, I realized strength without awareness is weakness. Power without control is chaos. I was losing, not because I lacked strength, but because I refused to understand its limits. The harder I fought, the more I was controlled by my need to win.
An elderly master watches from a distance. He steps forward, slow and deliberate, his presence alone commanding attention.
Tell me, young one, when the storm rages, does the mountain resist? Or does it stand unmoved?
The young martial artist hesitates. His fists are still clenched, his breathing heavy.
Power is not just force. It is also knowing when to step aside, when to allow movement, and when to make it.
The master suddenly lifts a wooden staff and strikes without warning. The young warrior barely dodges, instinct taking over.
In that moment, something shifted. I had stepped aside, not from weakness, but from awareness. I had not lost control. I had gained it.
The days that followed were filled with lessons, not in striking harder, but in understanding when not to strike. The young martial artist learns to flow, sometimes blocking, sometimes evading, sometimes attacking with precision rather than desperation.
I learned that control is not about always taking action. It is about knowing when to act and when to allow. A warrior does not always fight. A warrior does not always yield. The art is in knowing which to do and when.
The young warrior stands in a final duel, but this time, he moves differently. His opponent strikes with sheer force, he does not resist. He does not cower. He flows. He steps aside at the right moment, redirects the force, and when the opening appears, he strikes, not in anger, but with precision. The fight ends quickly, cleanly.
I once believed power was something to be forced. I now know it is something to be mastered. It is knowing when to stand firm, and when to let go, when to be the mountain, and when to be the wind.
The older martial artist now stands where he once doubted himself, on the mountaintop, beneath the endless sky. The sun is fully risen, casting a warm glow over the world below. He takes a breath. Deep, steady.
Life is movement. Strength and surrender are not opposites. They are two halves of the same dance. And true mastery is knowing how to dance between them.
Aloha, my friend. Look at the waves. They rise, they fall, they return. Never clinging, never resisting. Life, too, is like this. Yet, we hold on. To regrets, to pain, to what we cannot change. But what if I told you that true freedom begins when you learn to let go? I once knew someone who couldn't let go. She loved a man who promised forever. But one day he left without looking back. Every morning, she walked this very shore, hoping the tide would bring back his footprints, his laughter, his love. But the ocean does not return what has already gone. It washes it away, carrying it to places unknown. And so must we. When our ancestors sailed, they did not burden their canoes with what was not needed. They trusted the winds and the stars to guide them. Yet, we fill our hearts with heavy things. Anger, fear, the past. Tell me, how can you sail forward if you refuse to unload the weight? Letting go is not forgetting. It is not pretending it never happened. It is choosing to carry wisdom instead of wounds. Imagine this stone holds all that burdens you. Now watch, it is gone. And yet, I am still here. Lighter, freer. This is the power of release. For years, I fought against life's currents, trying to control everything. But like Hula, life is not about forcing movement. It is about flowing, adapting, trusting. In Hula, we do not resist the music. We dance with it. Life asks the same of us. When I first learned hula, I wanted to perfect every step, every gesture. I thought if I controlled each movement, I would dance beautifully. But hula is not about control. It is about feeling. It is about surrendering to the rhythm, letting the music move through you, not against you. The more I tried to control, the more rigid I became. My movements were stiff, unnatural. But when I let go, when I stopped thinking and started feeling, I found grace. I found freedom. The same is true for life. When we cling too tightly to how we think things should be, we miss the beauty of how they are. In hula, if we resist the rhythm, we fall out of sync. In life, if we resist change, we struggle. But if we trust the flow, if we allow ourselves to move with life instead of against it, we find harmony. There is a saying in hula, "E kulia ika hula, e nawe me kamakani." Dance with excellence, move with the wind. It means we do our best, but we do not fight the natural flow. We let the wind guide us. We let life guide us. Because when we surrender, when we truly let go, we do not lose control. We gain peace. So, my friend, what are you holding on to? An old grudge? A past mistake? A version of yourself that no longer exists? Whatever it is, I ask you, can you set it free? Let go. And see how much lighter your soul can dance.
Life is not just about force, nor is it only about surrender. It is about knowing when to step forward, when to yield, and when to flow. So, what about you? In this dance of life, which step do you need to take? Are you holding on too tightly, trying to control what is beyond your reach? Are you hesitating, afraid to take action when the moment demands it? Or are you searching for balance, caught between the two? Remember this. The rhythm of life will always change. Strength, balance, and surrender are not separate. They are 3 steps of the same dance. Now it's your turn to move. What step will you take today?